Pop of the morning, everybody, and welcome to Popcorn Culture. As always, I am your one true host, Jazzy J, joined as usual by my brother and the one true co-host, Buzzy Benjamin B. How are you today, brother?
I'm not well. I'm not. I mean, not good.
Not good,
to be frank. Thanks for having me, I guess.
No, Ben, you're not a special guest. You're the one true co-host.
The one true.
Yeah.
Fine. I don't even know what to say. I've never been on this side of the argument before.
It was weird starting the episode. I was like, oh, I guess you talk first. I talk first. I guess I talk first.
I know.
Yeah.
Now we need to now we need a way to kind of like spring into conversation of some kind.
No, don't worry. I got it covered, Ben. I've been thinking about these hosting duties for like 120 episodes.
Perfect.
So we're good. I got it. Hopefully.
I'm planning to fully kick back and relax today. All of the pressure is on you. I don't have much to say. My mind is blank. No big thoughts from Ben. You know what I want to talk about is Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
Former jobs that I've used to have.
Yeah.
Used to have had.
Yeah, what do you have to say about Pokemon cards?
What else do you always talk about? I'm trying to be you today.
You're trying to be me today.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, so if you cannot tell, at long last, the tide has turned barely, and the Jazzy J tier on Patreon is momentarily ahead of the Buzzy B tier. I think thanks to some hijinks by some highly motivated Jazzy J people out there. You may also notice that the date is April 1st, but this is not an April Fool's joke. This is absolutely the actual tally on the results right now. That being said, ironically, I think as the calendar flips into April, it might actually switch back. Depending on whether or not the subscriptions renew on Patreon.
Exactly. That would be the determining factor.
But as we are recording this, it is not April yet.
Right. I know. Yeah, it's true. So the current status stands because of how our recording works. But just speaking of April Fool's Day, oh my gosh, this is one of those things where every April Fool's Day, I will take a Sharpie and I will write on my hand the words, "It is April Fool's Day."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I will not be had by one of these gags, jokes, reels, unexpectedisms,
right?
Because year in, year out, there's always that news article or a post that goes up and it's like, Coke's gonna be clear now, and you're like, what?
That's weird.
Oh, I see.
Dang it! Every time. You know what? I think we can just go ahead and abolish is just any form of April Fool's proposals.
Oh wait, how do you mean? Like wedding proposals?
To be wed? Yes, like people faking that they got engaged.
Oh yeah, no, that's silly.
This is gone.
That's
no good.
Put it in the can.
Put it in the can. We did it. All right. We all discovered Facebook was a thing and that this was a possibility. We tried it out. We had some laughs. We didn't really laugh that hard. We can move on.
The life cycle of a joke. It really is. It's the funniest thing. It's like fashion in so many ways, because I do think that things will come back around the horn again. I've had this working theory that Gen Z is going to re-adopt Facebook.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
Because what I think is going to happen is, and maybe even it'll be the generation that follows Gen Z, but do you know what that will? I guess we don't know what it'll be called yet. I don't know if we know what it'll be called,
because is this like hurricanes? Do we go back to the beginning of the alphabet now?
I'm not
because
really
I have
sure.
to tell you,
because
if we have a generation called Gen Alpha, I'm really not looking forward to those.
Oh, that's going to be a pain in the old buttocks.
I know.
Yeah, no, I don't think we need that.
I don't think we need the Alpha Gen. Yeah,
right. You just skip that. It's
skip.
Kind of like everybody knows what's going to happen. It's
right.
not good for anybody. That being said, I don't know why. Are we technically are we Gen Y? Are millennials Gen Y? Is that a thing?
I think that is a thing.
And then are boomers
like Gen X, right?
No, I think there's something between.
You're right.
Yeah, what comes before X?
W.
Okay, I can't do the alphabet backwards.
ZYX, WVUT, XRQP, ONK, JIH, GFEDCBA.
Whoa! Everybody give Jay a big round of applause.
Whoa.
Very impressive.
They're like, you missed one.
You missed one. You messed up.
No.
No, but one thing that's really interesting that's happening very close to my orbit right now that's making this concept so prevalent is that my wife Alyce owns a bridal shop, and she also sells formal gowns. And it is the case that because a huge portion of their business is consignment, so people like bring their products in, and then, you know, obviously like they sell and get a portion of the sale, or they just continue to be there and sort of exist in backstock for a while. This happened because they've been in business for 10 years. They have had a whole bunch of dresses that came in early consignment that kind of like got taken off the floor because they were like out of fashion, and like nobody was like picking them up anymore.
Right.
And the consigners had not come back to pick them up. So they had actually been in their storage locker for a period of time, and just this year they have gone through and they were like, well, let's toss them back on the floor and see what happens. They are selling like hotcakes.
Whoa.
Yeah, so like dresses from 10 years ago are like
They're back.
that, like people want those more than like their new stock.
Wow.
Which is incredible. So it's like it's not new that fashion keeps coming around the horn over and over
Right.
again. And I think a lot of what's driving it is sort of like we are now far enough away from the 90s that there are now historical like films that take place in the 90s that are like now it's far enough away that now we can start making a bunch of movies about them.
Right.
Which is weird because it means that like the decade we grew up in is now history.
That's weird to think. I think about this all the time, right? That eventually the time we're in right now will come to be past.
Yep.
You know, and it, you know, like there will be a lot of movies about the you know, early 2020s or whatever. And I'm always like, you know what's going to be interesting about those movies is, will they have to have people wear masks like in the movies to like represent COVID being a thing at the time? Because there are movies coming out right now that take place right now where people just don't wear masks. They're just like, yeah, this is happening in 2019, but in a version of 2019 where COVID's not a thing.
Oh, sure.
You know?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And my suspicion is that they will have like ways that there will be like an homage to it. Or I don't know if you've done this with your mask, but a lot of times I'll like scooched up my forearm and I'll sort of like wear it like, you know, if I'm like outside before I walk in the building, that way
That's
it's like,
nice,
yeah. I could see if there's like, it's like they're very prevalent in terms of props. Like they're kind of everywhere. They're like on the tables, like you can see, or like maybe like attendants at like a grocery store in the shop might be wearing them.
Yeah.
But my suspicion is that there will be an art film where everybody all wears them the whole time, and that'll be like part of the message is that like they'll have a bunch of very famous actors and actresses whose faces you can't see, which like goes against like every agent out there is like no.
They can't. But see, that's what is interesting to me is that, like, if you decide to put it in a movie, it's almost like there's no way you're not like making it feels like there's no way you're not making commentary about COVID. And yet to me, there's almost no way to make a movie that takes place in that year without like having masks. It doesn't have to be about COVID. It could still just be about what the movie's about. It's just like it was so, and still is like so prevalent. Like could you not include it?
I don't know.
Like, or is including it making commentary no matter what?
Right. Well, I mean, you know, it's interesting because like I know like during the Dust Bowl, for example, is when like the custom of storing like the your glassware in your cabinets upside down started, so that like dust wasn't like settling inside of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then I think as time went on, it just sort of like it stopped being the case that this was a Dust Bowl activity anymore, and just the orientation at which people stored their glasses.
Right.
And so I think it's not everybody does it this way, but I do think it became more common.
Right.
It's possible there could be something like that happens where same thing, you know, it's a little more subtle than like super in your face, but no pun intended, because we're talking about face coverings.
On your face.
I know. But yeah, I really don't know. And I think that since I was a kid, I have been aware of this reality that like your present is the future's history.
Yeah.
And that will always be.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know. I'm endlessly curious. I also know when I think back to like the year 2007, 2008,
Yeah.
during the housing crash, there are many films that discuss how different like financiers and stuff found their way through that. I'm very curious what the inevitable movie will be, like the equivalent of the movie The Big Short,
Right.
which is about like the guy who predicted the crash.
The crash.
It's like there's probably, in response to, you know, like there's like big inflation right now, you know, like consumer products are going up in cost. It's like someone somewhere knows what the implications of all that will be and is like hedging their bet
Right.
at this very moment. And it'll be fascinating. Like, you know, it's like, will precious metals come back? You know, like, will cryptocurrency be the thing?
Right.
Who knows?
Who
Copper.
knows? Someone knows, and there will be a movie about it.
I've seen massive speculation about copper
Really?
right now because with the advent of electric vehicles, like so on the forefront, it's like, in order to make batteries, you need copper.
Oh.
And so it's like, as we step away from fossil fuels as our fuel source, what you're going to see, the next resource to be grabbed is copper.
Oh, that's so funny because like I feel like every time you and I have a discussion about artificial intelligence, the example we always give is like, what if you just give the machine the goal of mine copper? Like, it doesn't really care about any of the ramifications. It's just going to do that no matter what.
Right.
Yeah. So it just seems funny that might be a real thing that could happen.
I know.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because like the explanation with copper is sort of interesting because it's, for one, very abundant. Two, it's very efficient at like conducting electricity. The only thing that is better than it is silver, which you can make an argument like, oh man, maybe silver's about to make a big run, but it's so much more scarce. And so it's
right.
just like copper's just like
it's because silver's already a precious metal,
Right.
which makes it harder to get.
exactly
Right.
Exactly.
Copper's like, this is my moment.
I know.
I've been waiting.
Yeah.
You know who I bet has a giant pile of copper treasure somewhere, Ben?
Abe Lincoln.
Abe Lincoln, who appears on the penny anyway. Wow. What are the odds?
It worked out
Pretty
so
good,
well.
it turns out.
It works out so well.
He always knows.
Little known fact about Abe Lincoln, he actually chose during life that he wanted to be on our copper currency. This is a made up fact that I just invented.
Oh, okay.
Happy April Fool's Day got you all.
Oh.
Everybody at home was like, is this
Kablam.
Although every time we try to make up a fact about Abe Lincoln, I
know.
feel like we're always a little bit closer to the truth.
I know.
than-
Someone's going to post us a real article from like history.com that's like, Abraham Lincoln was like very, very forthright about wanting to be on the penny and wanting the penny to be made of copper. He wanted it.
He wanted the everyman's coin.
Exactly.
You know?
He wanted the everyman's coin because he knew the potential of copper in the future and $5 bills.
What it's like I want to be on the smallest thing, but in the event that becomes obsolete, can I also like throw my way up the chain just a little bit more as well?
Wouldn't that be hilarious if suddenly pennies, which have been like completely obsolete entirely, just suddenly like rose in value because they happen to be made? Well, I guess they're not entirely made of copper. Probably.
No,
It's
yeah.
like mostly like zinc or something.
It's some other like oxide.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right word. But
Right.
I'm going for it. I'm going to
If
speak with confidence.
I bet for a while pennies must have been made in copper, and those pennies might rise in value to be way more valuable than they otherwise were.
I could see it. I could see it. As a complete other aside, this entire venture has led me down this path of like the very Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. Like, he very notably like bought gold.
Yeah.
Like a lot of gold.
Yeah.
And so it's like his whole life he just bought like into the most stable, like core of currency and
Yeah.
wealth store.
Yeah.
And it has paid off for him incredibly well. But as I started to read about copper, I was like, man, it would be kind of fun. It plays into like my what works for my brain, investing in some type of precious metals.
Yeah.
Because for one, silver is not as expensive as you think it is to have bars of silver.
You could just have bars of silver.
You could just have bars of silver.
Now that sounds fun.
No one's can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Could we get a bar of silver and just have it
Just
on our
have it?
set?
Dude, please do.
Like,
Please get us a bar of silver.
like I will walk in with like a treasure, like a piece of treasure, like, and it will be silver, and it will be on our set, and people will be
right
like,
here.
"Is that real silver?" And we'll be like, "It
Like,
really is.
It really is real silver.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you know what? We talked a little bit about how every time we try and make up a fact about Lincoln, it ends up being sort of true. That leads me to today's corny joke, Ben.
Whoa!
I know. I found a corny joke for this hostmanship deal I got going here.
You just lay it on me.
Are you ready, Ben? Why did everyone believe the corn story?
Why? Okay, hold on. Why? So corn is telling a story,
Corn is telling a story.
and everybody believes the story.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Because there was a kernel of truth to it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You really like leaned right into like the whole like corny.
Yeah, I went right for like the corny popcorn. I was bringing us back to our roots, you know.
No, I
as
get it.
were.
I get it. Our
Yeah.
corn roots.
Our corn roots.
Yeah.
Which brings me to another topic from the agenda, Ben.
I'm so glad you got there. I was
Yeah.
thinking the same thing.
Because I feel like, and I tweeted this out earlier this week, I feel like I am at the moment dangerously close to getting really into plants.
I'm really excited about this. It is rare that you and I I think barrel at the same conclusion at the same time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Okay, so everybody knows that there. Well, maybe not everybody does know. You have an echo chamber. So
Yeah.
surely based on the things that you are interested in and search, have a massive influence on what social media shows you as either, current news, like influencers.
It is scary how echo chambers work.
Yes.
Like this is down to like, let's say some volatile political figure tweets something outrageous. Like, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle they're on. If what Twitter will show you is the responses that will most likely keep you on Twitter. So like if you are on one side of the aisle and your friend is on the other side of the aisle and you are looking at the same responses to the same tweet from the same person, you will see different things. It's
very scary. And I have to give a shout out to an Instagram page that I follow. I know you follow as well. It's called Sharon Says So.
Oh, Sharon Says So. Everyone should follow Sharon Says So.
I genuinely believe this. Like when it comes to news, and I think probably if you've listened to any of Jay and I's stuff for a period of time, you know that we stick to things that tend to not matter as much as humanly possible, and then we mix in a little bit of philosophical conversation in there.
That we do.
But we never stand on real firm ground on things that do matter. To the best of my knowledge, I think that this person, who is a former government teacher who is from like the Midwest somewhere.
I think Wisconsin.
Okay. She will post like stories every day to Instagram that just help you understand the news. And I think very rarely is she adding a tremendous amount of like very visible bias to it. Most of the time, it could be the case that there is a headline that says this, and then she will tell you whether or not that like really scary headline is actually even like in play.
Right.
In turn, it's like people trying to do this, and it's like not really. Like that can't happen based on this decision. Like a lot more would have to happen for that to happen.
Right.
And so, like, I don't know, I've just found it to be a very interesting way to have a firmer grasp on what is going on in the world. And so we will link that in today's show notes. Would highly recommend. And she's also just a completely delightful person who will like scatter in information about like, whales or eagles or,
Yeah, it'll just be like, all right, too serious. Time for pictures of whales for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Fittingly, I have seen her talk about both narwhals and spirit bears before.
Wow.
So maybe she's a fan of the pop.
Wow. Maybe. You know who I'm starting to think is a fan of the pop, Ben?
Who's that?
Is Pokémon. Or just a fan of the Carlin brothers in general.
You think the Pokémon
I
company?
think big Pokémon is paying attention to us, the Carlin brothers.
Okay.
Because one, we made a video slamming them for their...
We slammed the Pokémon company?
Well, we made a video about their about who we consider the Pokémon's company's least favorite Pokemon.
Oh, sure.
Paris and/or Parasect.
Okay, yep.
Not one game later
Not one game later.
did they decide to up the absolute like infamy of Paris and Parasect in the
Fascinating.
game. Like all of a sudden, you can't go 3 steps without Paris being like, "Yo, what up? I'm here. You want to be hit with some poison? I'm here." So anyone who's played Legends Arceus knows what I'm talking about. Paris is everywhere. It's in every region. It is just waiting for you to show up and to be like, "Hey."
That is very interesting because I feel like there have been more of these things happening lately. And again, this is like one of those where it's like, is the echo chamber happening to us, or are we contributing to the echo chamber?
Oh, yeah.
Or because I know that also like Disney Parks blogs. Disney food blog, one of those, the other day posted something, and I think at Disney Springs right now, they just started featuring a cocktail that literally comes with a rubber duck floating on the surface of your cup.
Is it one of those things where it's like, do we have more influence in the world than we have any idea?
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine?
Like, I would just love to know, like I would put it on my resume, not that I've ever been able to, I don't even know if I have a resume. I've never applied for a job really.
Yeah.
But it'd be like influenced this cocktail at Disney Springs.
Influenced. It's we were putting look, we've been putting ducks in cups forever. Is this a coincidence? I don't think so. We are clearly inside the Disney sphere. But going back to Pokemon, I feel like someone at least on the Legends Arceus team was like, is paying attention to what we put out in the world.
Okay.
Because then listen to this. This is a Pokedex entry for the Pokemon Golbat in Legends Arceus. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Yep.
It sinks its sharp fangs into other creatures and slurps up their blood. A closer look at the fangs reveals they are all hollow and akin to straws.
Our theory upon vampires.
Exactly. Golbats have hollow teeth straws.
Does that mean that we are now very pro Golbat? Because I would have previously put Golbat in like my bottom 5 Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Well, see, it's hilarious also that it's Golbat, because basically the role that Paris has decided to fill in Legends Arceus is the role that Zubat's been filling its whole life, which is, I'm sorry, do you want to take one step forward? I'm here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, obviously someone at Legends Arceus is a Carlin Brothers fan, as far as I can tell, and they were like, I'm going to change this Golbat Pokédex. Like, what Pokemon should we have everywhere? I have an idea. Paris.
I have an idea.
I have an idea. Let's do it.
It should be a mushroom.
It should be a mushroom, because Paris is like not a very like strong Pokemon typically, so it would make sense for them to be like, oh yeah, first region, we'll put Paris there, right? Yeah. Cool, it's there. But then you get into the second region and you're like, oh, there's more Paris, and it's like okay. Then you get into the third region, you're like, well, there's Paris here too.
So why is Paris everywhere?
Why is Paris everywhere?
It was just a simple piece of code that someone somewhere wrote.
Someone was like, oh.
Command A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom.
Just
Here we go.
Select all, paste.
Select that apply. So anyway, me and you seem to be in an echo chamber that is pointing us towards houseplants.
Houseplants.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has been very interesting. So here at Super Carlin Brothers HQ, we have a plant that we have called Riles Jr.
Riles Jr.
Which is a nod to our video editor for the not for the pop, but for the Super Carlin Brothers show. Our editor Riley, and I think that he actually came up with it one day because we had it on the set for like a brand deal.
Yeah, because
something.
you always do the scenic route for the Jay versus Bents, and so I was doing the scenic table. So we were like, what would make the table like more scenic? And we were like, we'll put the plant on here.
Yes,
and
so it spawned Riles Jr.
Yes.
Who now has his own Instagram page.
Which you should totally go follow, by the way.
It's called Hi, my name is Riles Jr.
With an underscore between every single word.
It's intentionally clunky.
Yes.
We did it on purpose.
It is.
In case you're like, wow, you probably could have just claimed, hi, it's Riles Jr.
Yeah.
No underscores.
Yeah. No. It's purposefully clunky. Also, there's a link in the description. So, if you like corny jokes, you will love Riles Jr.'s Instagram page, because he is posting up a firestorm of puns on the daily.
Because there are so many good plant-based puns. There's so many words that must have originally have their roots, if you will, in plants, because plants were probably here first. Not even plants were here first. Anyway, yes. So it's like part of me thinks it's like, is it spring? And people are like, kind of like, hey, like, I'm gonna go houseplant something because it's spring and it's
Yeah.
like it's not cold anymore. But it feels like houseplants are everywhere all of a sudden.
All of a sudden.
And I really I can't tell if it's my echo chamber, but like I'm excited about the plants.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, it is spring. It is sort of the right time of year to be into this sort of thing.
It is.
However, I've lived through spring 33 other times, Ben, and I have thus far not been into plants any of them times.
Any of them times.
This spring, however, feeling the plants.
I know.
Also, it seemed like if ever there was a time to get into houseplants, it was like 2019, like 3 years ago when all of the COVID was hitting. That's when I feel like was a good time was a good time to be into small plants.
Sure, yeah, because like all of a sudden you're kind of like inside.
Right.
It's like what is something I can do inside that could be like
That is outside.
that is yeah. It's like don't get
What
me
if-
wrong, I don't want to go outside,
Yeah.
but I would like to have a small amount of controlled inside.
Yeah.
Controlled outside.
Controlled outside inside.
I got there.
Yes.
I got there.
You know what has always been funny to me is that when you put on your shirt inside out, it doesn't matter whether you say inside out or outside in. It's the same thing.
Hey, hold on, let me work through
Yeah,
that.
work through it.
Inside out, outside. Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
That totally works.
Yeah.
Oh man. Also, is there anything more embarrassing than putting your shirt inside out on backwards?
You know what? If you're an adult, then there's nothing more embarrassing. However, sometimes Luke in the morning will like go to get he'll go to get dressed, or he'll like want to pick out his own clothes, and he'll come downstairs and he'll have his own clothes on, and clearly he's still like learning how to put like the shirts or pants on, or doesn't know how to tell which way is forward or backwards or something. But the fact is he did it himself, and that you can tell he's like really proud of himself for like doing this thing. And it's just like part of me wants to be like, yes, but your pants are on backwards. But it's just like, just leave that out. It doesn't really matter. The point is he did it.
These feel like impactful moments. Like I'm very curious because it's like as a kid is growing up and as they are empowered to make some of their own first decisions.
Yeah.
It has a lot less to do with how well they did it and more to do with the fact that they did it at all.
Yes.
And so it's like, I wonder what the implications would be of like someone's like very first piece of self-expression if somebody tells you that you did it wrong.
Yeah.
Like that, it seems like, I don't want to put pressure on parents everywhere or anything, but like it seems like an oddly pivotal moment in your life, because it's like like you did something on your own. You came downstairs, you got a reaction from your parents, and it's like you haven't had that many opportunities to surprise your parents with anything. Up till this moment.
Yeah, this is something I'm like learning more and more. I feel like every day as like Luke gets into this sort of territory where it's like, he has a little bit more freedom and a little bit more like autonomy, and it's like trying to find ways to like let him have that freedom. And there's so many ways where it's like it might not make sense to me, or it might like immediately click into my head like, oh, there's a better way to do this, or like let me correct you, or like tell you how to do it. And it's just like it like really trying to like pump the brakes on stuff like that, because the important thing is just like that they're doing it, and it's like there's no harm in the way you're doing it at all.
Right.
It's like if you're going to do something that's like actively going to hurt you, then I should probably step in.
Sure.
But like Beth, for example, she was showing me this Instagram account she follows where it's like some other family vlog, but they're talking about like their kid, or once upon a time, said family got a brand new refrigerator.
Okay.
And the refrigerator came in a giant box, and the kid super excited about the box.
Yes.
Brought the box up.
I feel like I remember being excited about a fridge box as a
Yeah,
kid.
it's giant. So they brought it up to their room, and they're like, asked their parents, like, "Can I sleep in the box tonight?" And they were like, it's like one of those things as a parent, you're like, well, I really wish you'd sleep in your bed. But it's like, but what harm will it really do to just let them sleep in the box? Like, they got to do it. They're excited about it. Like, and they're going to go to sleep. And it's like, it's a decision they're going to have made that is like, you don't really lose anything from saying, yes, you can sleep in the refrigerator box.
It's
you know what I mean?
Right. And it's very interesting too, because something that has become very apparent to me lately, and kind of going back to the fact that I don't really have a resume because I've never really needed one. I think one thing that I have really started to realize about myself, and you're probably about to be like, yeah, I know, is that I need to think it was my idea, or it just needs to have been my idea, like for me to be as motivated as possible. Like I'm not.
You're right. I know.
I'm not good at being told to do something because it's like I haven't built all of the tactics as to how I will accomplish that thing like first. But it's like if I am like suggesting it, then I'm like, okay, I know I'm gonna do this and this and this and this and this, but I do not like to be told to do the end product. Like I need it to be my own idea.
Right.
So yeah, but you know that this is a thing.
I'm familiar with this aspect of you. Yes.
Okay, great.
It's okay.
Thanks.
It's
Thanks.
okay. I think we're all a little guilty of that at times.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, it's. I don't know. I actually can go back to, I think, skiing in particular in my life. This was a really big one because we grew up. Our dad was a very good skier.
Yeah.
And so as little kids, we were introduced to the sport, and it was one of these things where like I used to have the greatest amount of anxiety about going skiing every year. Like if I knew it was on the horizon, I would be freaking out. Like it would disrupt my sleep in like elementary school, like 5 days out from like the weekend trip to go skiing. I hated being out there. I hated being cold. I hated falling down. I hated being like feeling like I was just like alone and lost on the mountain and having to like communicate with strangers who I didn't know all day. Like nothing about it was appealing to me. I did not like it at all. And then as I got older, it was like one of these things where I was like, I kind of want to get into this. I kind of want to go snowboarding. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I went, I got all my stuff, did all my thing. And it's like, now I would say it is like one of the most foundational, like important things to me about like pressing forth.
Right.
You know,
like I want my life to be, I never want to arrange my life in such a way that I can't go snowboarding.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. But it's so odd because like it was this thing as a kid. I was like,
because it was like you were being like told to go do it.
I don't even know that I was being told to go do it, but I had no individual compulsion to go, and therefore I had no aspirations to really like succeed where I was like attempting to get better all the time.
Yeah.
Actually, interestingly, even now in the modern day, I think like since I've had Addison, like health, like my personal health, for like maybe the first time in my life is something that like I feel like I have very much made like a priority.
Right.
And to the point where it's like I feel like I'm like fine tuning like details about my life to be healthier.
Yeah.
All the time.
Right.
And but like that's the same thing. Like when in your life has someone ever told you not to like exercise or eat well or drink more water or, you know, like any of those things.
Right.
Like, that's not like a brand new piece of advice or anything.
Yeah. Actually, you're talking about like skiing and stuff. This actually reminds me of my own relationship with like mountain biking for a very long time.
Yeah. I remember this when we first started going, you had something like this.
Yeah. Cause like I think when we were kids, first of all, I remember I had a very specific bad experience where at the Explorer Park, they had just opened up the mountain bike trails, which are like they're still open today. And like we were there, they had like, you know, a kids loop, and then they had like, you know, their big like 10-mile loop or whatever.
Right.
And me and my buddy were like, let's go out on the big loop. And oh boy, big mistake. Like, you know, we have these tiny little bikes, and you know, we thought, you know, we've done like the kids loop, and we, you know, you like bike around all the time when you're a kid. You think, oh, I'm great at biking.
Right.
Like
right.
you don't even think that, like, you know, it doesn't even, it's like when you saw the Star Wars prequels, like it doesn't even cross your mind that Star Wars can be bad or anything like that.
Right. Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it was like, oh, the trails? Of course, I have a bike and I have ridden on dirt before, so I can do whatever.
Right.
You know? So we went out there, and man, oh man, it was just too hard. You know? It was just
right.
like, we were just not big enough. We did not have, you know, we had bikes that could shift from first gear to sixth gear with a handlebar clicker.
Right.
You know?
Right.
We had a single chain ring. We didn't have suspension. There was nothing, you know, we just could not do it. And we were just out there for like hours and hours. And like, you know, the sun was starting to go down, and, you know, Dad's just like, where where's Jonathan? I remember like eventually like he came like riding out there, like they must be out here somewhere.
Right.
Which, and they found us when we got back or whatever. But I remember thinking like, okay, that wasn't that great.
Right.
And
yeah.
then like I didn't really like go on any like mountain biking trails a while until like high school. I think once upon a time, once again, it was at the Explorer Park and I was with our friend John, who is GMA John Jennings.
Yeah.
And John was just always so great at everything, especially like anything to do outdoors, and clearly had gone biking on these trails a bunch.
Yeah.
And and to John's great benefit, the greatest thing about John is that he has so much faith in his friends' abilities to do anything.
It's true.
Yes.
Yes. And what's fascinating too about John is that like as much time as we were always spending with him, apparently every minute we weren't, he was like at the Explorer Park or learning how to go like spelunking, you know, or something.
Every
like,
minute you weren't having an adventure with John, he was having an adventure anyway.
he was doing it.
He was just out. I don't know when he found the time to do all this stuff. But anyway, we went out there and I remember it was almost the exact same experience. It was like, it wasn't fun at all because he was so much better. We didn't spend any time on the trail with him. He was just way out in front. And meanwhile, I'm just like stumbling and bumbling around. And it's like, and on something where it's like, I would never have thought of myself as being bad at biking, you know?
Right,
It's
yeah,
like, it would have
yeah.
been one of those things that I thought like I was, you know, even good at. But perhaps ignorantly, but nonetheless, just feeling like this is just not for me. And then even years later, I think when, right when we were starting like Super Carlin Brothers and you started going mountain biking with, one of our friends, Paul, and, I think our friend Trey was going, you guys were all sort of getting into it. And I didn't like have a bike or anything
Right.
At the time, but once upon a time, I think you guys finally got me out there and I like rented a bike from the local shop, and it was like, I remember it was like a really like high-end bike, like way better than I had any need to be riding, but it was like the bike far outclassed my own personal skill to like ride down. I remember the whole day just feeling like I'm gonna die. Like, you know,
oh,
I
man.
can't.
I don't think I knew that.
I was just, I was like, I remember going down, we went, I know we went left out of the parking lot and went down some of those trails. And with some of the hills we were going down, I was just like, I don't even know how you're supposed to do this. Like, I don't even know how it's possible. And I'm like watching you guys go down, and I was just like scared out of my mind the whole time. And then I was just like, I don't know. It's just not, I'm not having fun.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. But then at some point in time, you had a rather significant shift and like, yeah, I mean, you came out and were like really the champ of our group.
I don't know exactly what it was. I think we watched this show. It was early on COVID. It was one of those like, it was like up there with like Tiger King for things that went real viral because of COVID. But it was like World's Toughest Race or something.
Right, I
and it was
remember
this like
that, yeah.
adventure race show. And like the day we hit the finale, I think John texted the whole group and was like, guys, we should do this adventure race. And I was like, I was positive John had also watched the show and this was the core behind it. Not true at all. Just regular John in John mode.
That sounds right.
Yeah. And I was just like, it just got me like really hyped to like go do like outdoor stuff. And I think I'd also been like riding the Peloton a bunch at that time. And I don't know, I just like it just everything like reset in my brain. It wasn't like anyone was asking me to go do it. It was just something I wanted to go try and do. And like the difference was like tremendous.
Yeah. And that's what I think is so like mind blowing about this.
Yeah.
Is that like, I bet that there are so many people out there that like there could be specific activities that they have like shied away from because like they felt like maybe they had no business doing it.
Yeah.
But like maybe it's just a small amount of investigation. It's like you're not that far from like discovering that you're really great at something that you just thought you couldn't do for a long time maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's weird the effect it has. Now that said, my last two mountain bike trips ended in terrible crashes, so haven't gone back in like a year.
I know. I felt like we had a stretch there where it was like every time I was going biking, somebody was going home in like a splint or stitches in their face.
I know. I was like, you know what? Let's just go do what we can do. We don't have to. Why are we pushing the envelope so much? We're having fun doing the other stuff.
I know. Yeah. We got too big for our britches.
We kept trying to expand, and this is just sort of what happens. It turns out the problem, the thing about expanding mountain bike skills is that the trails get significantly harder or the risk becomes higher.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the chance for something to go wrong can scale up as well.
That's
which
true.
they were. So
yeah. Well, so okay, this is kind of interesting because I think it leads me into a discussion topic that I thought about a lot. I had like one of my road trips over the weekend because Alyce and I had like our first like night away from Addison. Mom,
oh boy,
yeah, mom watched her for us, and we went to this like really cool resort. But that meant that I was on a drive, which meant that I spent a lot of time thinking. So classic like Ben batch of thoughts inbound.
oh boy. Well, I'm curious what you were thinking about because you were telling me about some like curious information about your own brain you discovered like scientifically.
Yes.
The
Holy
other
cow.
week.
Let me start with that because
Okay.
that is much more interesting than the next thing, I think. So I had, I don't even know where I want to start with this. Have you ever like wondered if there was like a something small that just needed to be tweaked that was like maybe holding you back or something? It's like, man, I feel like if I could just like,
I always used to feel this way about like running in cross country. Like I felt like there was a very like big mental barrier. It's like I feel like I am physically more capable than my mind is letting me run, and I don't know how to tweak that one thing. But I feel like I could be a lot better than I am.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
like I don't know what is, but
Right,
yeah.
like you're like one small thing away from
Right.
from just like clicking. Well, so I mean, one of the things that I've talked a lot about here on the pop, in different like avenues that where we discuss things online, but it's just sort of like anxiety, depression, like some of the things that like I feel like I struggle with off camera.
Yeah.
A fair bit more that I know that you've seen elements of, Alyce has seen elements of, and it's just sort of this like what is going on? Like, why can I not like shake this? And for what it's worth, one, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
And two, this is just my personal anecdote. So I don't want anybody to think that it could apply under all circumstances, nor am I far enough away from it to know how it is applied to my circumstance.
Sure.
But interesting breakthrough. So one of the things for my anxiety is I take a medication for it. And that means that periodically I have a meeting with my psychiatrist. And so I sat down for my meeting and I was like, I don't know like what's going on, but like I had like a depressive episode like 2 weeks ago. I'm not really sure why. It feels like this should be stopping that from happening, or at least is there anything we could do to make it not happen?
Right.
Because I don't like that. And she's like, that's interesting. I don't feel like that should have happened based on like where we're at, based on what you're telling me, like all the rest of the stuff. So she's like, let's do a test. Like, let's do a genetic test to see how your body reacts to all of the various medications that kind of fall under this like umbrella of mental health.
Right.
And so they sent it out. It was a super basic like cheek swab. And, I was like, I'm dying to know. Like if I can get some data here, if I can get some information, if I can get anything at all.
Right.
That's like, it's like, hey, your medication hasn't been working. Like, but we could do something that will make it work.
Right.
It'd be like, oh my gosh, that would be like a superpower. I'd be so excited. Mm-hmm. So I send it back and I'm like now awaiting my results meeting with her. And I hop on the call after work one day and she's like, this was interesting. And I was like,
ooh.
I don't think I've ever had a doctor tell me that my results were interesting before.
Oh, I know. Like, I feel like anytime I go to the doctor, they're like, do you do this? Nope. Okay.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
all right then. I don't normally have a lot to report.
Yeah.
But so we basically hop on, and what she tells me is that there are like 3 big splits of the population, and it really is like this evolutionary trait somewhere once upon a time. People aren't exactly sure why, when, where these specific deviations happen, but it seems like in populations it's about 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and it has to do with how your body like metabolizes folic acid, which is just a thing, like there's folic acid in like the food you eat, like,
yeah.
It's not like, and you can buy folic acid supplements like over the counter. Like this is not like a medication. It's just a supplement like anything else. Oh, sorry. I thought you were putting something.
Oh, nope.
So basically what we discovered was we go to the very last page. That's where she starts with me. And she's like, you are in like the severe category for inability to uptake folic acid. And because of that, like we were able to like peel back and look at my specific medication, and it was like your body great with the medication. It knows exactly what to do with it. It knows exactly how to send it there. The problem is that like once it gets to your brain, it's almost like you have a cup with holes in the bottom of it. Like it all gets there, it all tries to pour in, and it all pours right out the bottom. And it's just like, it's because I'm like lacking, I am deficient in folic acid. And she's like, literally, like this deficiency could literally be causing your depression.
Oh gosh.
Like entirely. And like even that is like, what? Oh my goodness.
It's so weird because I wouldn't have like, for historically throughout your entire life, I wouldn't have even like categorized you in this, like in like as a depressed person, or not that I knew, or maybe you didn't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's actually it's funny because I even remember like moments in elementary school. Maybe I've talked about this before, but like where I would have like a sore throat at school, and it would be like, man, throat hurts today. Like that's just like something I'm dealing with today. Like I never was able to like really clear it into my brain as like, oh, I'm getting sick.
Yeah.
You know, so it was just sort of like I just sort of like I don't know, dealt with things like that for a long time. And it's possible that this had played a similar role where it was like, man, I can't get into any of my activities. Guess I'll just do them anyway. Like, yeah, I guess I'll just do them and not enjoy them. And so, I mean, that certainly has been a thing at different stages. It's felt more recently when it's been much more apparent to me that the rest of the stuff is going on. But yeah, because it's genetic, it means that this has been like a deficiency that mostly has been there for most of forever. And so it's kind of like, man, I can start taking the supplement, and it could like, I'm trying not to be like too excited about it because it's like because it was like, I have hard data for once.
Right.
I have like
I can point to a thing.
Right. This is not me like trying to self-diagnose. This isn't me going down like a Instagram click hole of like 10 signs you might be a people pleaser or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, this is real. This is science. Like I can follow this. So I've just started taking it like just like 3 days ago. So I'm like very on the front end. But yeah, so it means that now not only should it hopefully allow for some of my own chemical processes, my own physical body to work, but it also should allow my medication to work better too.
Oh.
Which maybe make my brain different.
Well, that's awesome. I assume, yeah. Hopefully.
What if I'm a very different person?
Very different person. Who knows? I think it's probably going to be. I'm very excited to see, what the long-term effects of this discovery are.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm very hopeful.
Yep.
But anyway, so with my new supercharged brain,
Yeah. What were you thinking about on your drive?
expectations.
Oh, expectations.
I know. Expectations are interesting because it's okay. My question is, are expectations sort of like a root cause of many, many, many problems?
I think in some capacity, yes, but I also think they are the root cause of a lot of like progress as well.
I know. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
really, it's very odd because it's, it almost makes me think of like food, for example. It's like expectations are like food. Some are healthy, some are not healthy.
Right.
You know, it's like not all food is good, but some food is good and some food isn't good. And so, but I mean, I feel like I started like applying this. I don't know. It seems like, or even like in Kanto, for example, you know, like there's a lot of this like generational trauma type stuff that's going on. And some of it comes from this ancestral expectation as to who you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to be, like which molds you're supposed to fit yourself into or whatever. But are people the happiest when they are existing outside of expectations? Because if what you are doing is like living within your expectations, then like on some level it's like, well, this is what was expected of you anyway.
Right.
So it's like, despite these successes, we expected success.
Right.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. But then if you're able to operate like outside of that, and now all of a sudden you're somebody who is succeeding somewhere where people maybe didn't expect you to, then it's like, this is nothing but like pure pioneering, like win.
Right.
At any stage of it. So the question there is almost like, if you were to remove the expectation of anything from the equation, then how does it affect everybody's ability to approach things? And so, I mean, if we attempted to apply it to like my example with skiing or something, it's like, did I feel like there was an expectation as a kid to be good at this? Like, and then I was not able to pick it up, and therefore like what was feeling like I was like below expectation, versus if it was just something where like I was on vacation with some friends and a parent would have been like, hey, one thing we can do today is go skiing. You guys want to go try that? And that was it. You know, like I didn't know that this was something my dad was good at.
Right.
You know, or like I wasn't even seeing you have 3 years experience in terms of like what where should I be at 3 years from now? You know, or like because you're older, bigger, you know, whatever, you've had more time to get good at it, which means now I'm at like a lower rung on the totem pole of progress. So I mean, it's some of it maybe is just comparison, and we've talked about that before. Like comparison is the thief of happiness. Right. You know, it's best to just not do that. But do we compare because there are expectations, I guess?
I mean, I suppose, yeah, I think certainly we must. And I think a lot of times it probably like can hold you back. Like, yeah, if I want to go back to like running and like cross country again, like I feel like for like when I was, you know, like in the early years of high school, like freshman, sophomore, I felt like it was probably expected of me to be, you know, about 8th or 9th on the team or something.
Sure.
But then it, like, you know, because of how old I was, but, you know, and that's sort of like where I landed. And so I was like, but then it sort of seemed like my brain couldn't like escape that sort of thing. It's like, oh no, not now. It's like, it was like, no, you're expected to be about this fast, you know, you, Jonathan, not you, a 9th grader, you know?
Right.
So it was like suddenly it was like, oh, this is about where I'm supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be much faster than this or something, you know, it's just like, I don't know. It was this weird like feeling like this is what it is. This is how people expect me to be. So I am.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And I can even apply the exact same thing to cross country.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. Where I feel like, especially by my senior year, I feel like I was like locked and loaded to like go. And cause I jumped early. Like I like kind of came in my first year was sort of like, you know, just at the entire back of the whole pack. And then by my sophomore year, I was like on the varsity squad, but then I never like did anything beyond that.
Right.
And I think some of it may have been because I had like other like protege runners in my class. So like, while it should have been a unique thing for me as a sophomore, I was like the 3rd place sophomore on our varsity squad. So it was kind of like, I'm still kind of like the back end of my group, but I've always been curious if I was the only sophomore on the varsity squad, if that would have like changed my entire mental dynamic.
Right. Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know. It's weird that we're like little mental boxes you like sort yourself into, and then like how strongly you can adhere to them.
How do you break those boxes?
I don't know. But then like even if you break them, it's like, you know, like you could say like when we started doing like YouTube or something, it was just like, oh, I don't think anyone expected like me to start making YouTube videos.
That's true.
When I did.
Yep.
And it was like, oh my God, this is like, I feel like you're right. Maybe I was like succeeding in a direction people like didn't expect from me. But it's like eventually you'll start having expectations for yourself about whatever the new thing is as well.
That's also true.
You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a curiosity, I think, that it's interesting in the name of like self-reflection a little bit would be like trying to find any aspect of your life where you feel like maybe you've plateaued. And like, you know, like I was getting better, and now I don't feel like I am getting better. It's like, this could be a really good area to like take a step back, sit down and like really think about it.
Yeah.
And try to determine if like maybe on some level it's like you have almost created boundaries inside of your head that like you don't know how to get past.
Yeah. So interestingly, excuse me, it was something I've almost been practicing this sort of thing recently, specifically with Pokémon cards.
Okay.
Like, so one of Beth and I's New Year's resolutions was to try and just have friends over to the house like for dinner like more often.
Okay.
So we've been, you know, cycling through different friends who we felt like we've sort of lost touch with over through COVID and through everyone just having kids and stuff, and just trying to be like, you know, just come over. We'll make dinner. It'll be great. It'll be have fun. And, you know, inevitably since in, you know, the last 8 months or so, or, you know, year of my life, you know, the Pokemon card thing has become like a really big thing that I've been doing. It's probably like my number one hobby at the moment.
Sure.
It's like taking up a lot of my time, and I think about it all the time. So I'll be sitting at dinner with like these friends, and it's just like, I have to like, excuse me, going into it, I have to be like this mental decision, like I like it, but I'm also like, you know, mid-30s, which people my age probably aren't all into this game, or I know that, you know, my friends in town typically aren't.
Sure.
And they might not even know this about me. So I'm like, I very consciously try and decide, like, I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to just like try and really own it, that like this is something I'm doing now.
Interesting.
You know.
That's also very fascinating, because it is taking, because that's a really good point. Like, I think to me, and probably even to like pop listeners, it's kind of like it's a bingo card item. You know,
Right.
like Jay talks about Pokemon.
Right.
It's like, you know, you have like our gaming channel. You have a Nuzlocke that you play through. Like, we do card unboxings and stuff. But that is something where I bet that there could be people at home who might find it interesting to know that you have friends in your life that maybe don't know how big a role Pokemon plays in it.
I know, exactly. It's like, and so it's just like trying to bring that sort of stuff up and just be like, oh yeah, I've just been like really getting into it lately. It's like super fun. Me and Ben buy all these boxes. We unbox them. We do it for the channel, you know, and then I've been playing at the, you know, card shop on the weekends and stuff like that.
Right.
And just trying to, I don't know. I feel like one thing I've really recently noticed about myself is that I do not speak up a lot of the time about like what my interests are, like what my, opinions are on things. And then it just, it'll sort of just get like slid past or something, and then it'll like surprise me when people don't know what I'm thinking about something.
Oh,
Like,
interesting. Because
you know,
it's like so at the forefront of your own brain.
so at the forefront of my own brain, yeah, but like I won't like bring it up at all. And like I think even like a couple of weeks ago on this very show, we were talking about like having parties or something, and you were like, "Oh, I wouldn't have even known that about you." And it's just like, you know, it's like, yeah, because I don't bring it up.
Right,
you
yeah.
know.
Like, so we were talking about hosting a party.
Yeah, we're talking about hosting parties.
I remember I went home that day and I was telling Alyce about that particular interaction. I was like, something on the pop happened today.
Oh.
Where I was like, I didn't know this about Jay.
Yeah.
And he seemed like extremely adamant in a way that I also didn't expect.
Right, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. I was just like, because like, I thought about that moment a lot too, and I was just like, why was that such a weird interaction? And I was like, because you never bring it up, like you don't talk about it, like you don't make a point to like let people know that it's important to you, and so they don't.
Right,
you know?
but even that though, that's a very interesting one, because I know that throughout my history, like going back to like college, probably even before college, like I remember I liked to be like the meeting point for specific activities.
Yeah.
Like I remember like in high school, we used to like take a tarp in the backyard and cover it in Dawn dish soap and have like a big slip and slide.
Right.
And like, that was like this thing that I had like come to. It's like, people love to do this. And so it was almost like, let me be the epicenter of the, like they're not coming to hang out with me. They're coming to hang out with the activity that I was able to come up with.
Right.
But maybe that will then reflect nicely back on me as like a characteristic.
Right.
And I would say that at this point in my life in high school, I was doing it in a very much, it wasn't very like intentional. It was just sort of like my natural state of being was starting to have some of these things happen.
Right.
And then it was sort of like same thing in college. Like I never liked going to parties, and probably that had even less to do with being the epicenter and more to do with like a sense of control about my environment. Like it made me nervous to go and be around a whole lot of people where I didn't know like where like socially I might land with them, you know? And so that made me nervous. And so it was like, I like to be able to host the party because then I knew who was coming to the party. And then I would have the ability to like have my, like the interactions with the people that were then there.
Right.
That was more comfortable. And then when I got out of college, I think is when I started throwing parties, and it never occurred to me that like this was something that people thought I was good at, but then it seemed like the sentiment started coming back. Like people like, "Oh, are you doing another Super Bowl party this year?" And it was like, "Do you want me to?"
Right.
Like was that, like I couldn't. Did people have fun last year?
Right.
Or was that more of like an obligation type of thing? And so I do think that as time went on, it was almost like this. I started to recognize that people expected this of me, like that it was something that like and as such, I think that each subsequent party, I then tried to like up the ante more and more and more and more, each time to see like, where could I take this? Like, am I a good host? Like am I starting to identify as a host and of parties? And so what's curious to me, even as we can like apply it back to your like Pokemon example, or even as a host of parties example, would be like, how hard would it be for you to say, I am a competitive Pokemon card player?
I mean, I don't think it would be that hard.
Right, but like,
Yeah.
Do you think that if you started identifying with that, because like I can tell you, this is kind of maybe an interesting piece of insight. I used to be more embarrassed to say that I had a YouTube channel than proud.
Oh, interesting.
Like, yeah, like it was almost something that like I didn't really want people to know or discover about me, because the last thing I wanted was for someone who I met, IRL to go and look at it. And because I was like, I'd like, me in real life, and if you see that me on the internet, then you're going to think like, why is it so different? And like, I don't know how to feel about that. Like, and that worried me a lot. And at some point in time, and I think it was probably like once I made the leap and it was my full-time job, I started saying like, I am a YouTuber.
Right.
And I remember at first it felt like I was trying on shoes that were too big for me, and it was kind of like, I'm saying this, but like, for like 2 months, like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It wasn't quite true yet. Like I hadn't convinced myself yet.
Right.
But I do wonder what level of impact that had on my own like mental relationship with the activity that we were doing. Because all of a sudden it was like a badge of pride instead of like a mark of shame.
Right.
And so I wonder if there was like a way for you to like even mentally frame it and be like, yeah, I'm a competitive Pokemon card player. It'd be like, whoa, that's interesting. Like,
right.
Like, do you think all of a sudden people might be impressed because like the word competitive is in there?
Right. Yeah. It's like, what would it take for me to like confidently say that? Like, I don't know. Like I assume there's a different confidence that comes from like having won like a big event versus like someone who plays at their local card shop sometimes on the weekends.
Right.
Right. But actually, interestingly, on this note, like competitive play has returned in real life to the Pokemon trading card game. And I was following the stream for the Salt Lake City regionals a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And it was interesting. What's crazy to me is that the same people are always at the top. Like, it's like clear who the best people are, and it's not just like, oh yeah, who has the best cards. It's like everyone has the same cards once you're at the top. The same people continue to win. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's nobody at that level who isn't just invested enough to have every card they need.
Yeah, right. But so there's one guy at the top. I think he came in fifth. His name was Ian Robb, and he has done well for, I guess, years. And I remember seeing his Twitter like 3 days after the event, and it was a pretty classic meme picture, but it's like some guy standing in the corner of like a party, and it's like him sort of staring out at the rest of the party. And it's like, everyone here has no idea I came in fifth at SLC regionals. And it's like in the world of Pokemon, like everyone knows who this person is. It's like very good. And it's like, oh, fifth place. Well done, dude. And it's like, you go back to like your regular people. It's just like, everyone's just like, no one has any idea that you were like at the epicenter of this huge competition this weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I used to always call these sector celebrities.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and it's so funny because like, yeah, you can go you can go to a con, and I remember like when we first started going to like YouTube conferences, there would be these moments where like somebody would walk into the floor and then there would just be screams as people were like, "Oh my God, it's,"
whoever,
probably someone named Liam. And, but like it occurs to me that this is a situation where like security has had to have been hired to like make sure that this person can like navigate this area safely.
Yeah.
And also keep the other members of the event safe along the process. But like that person can also like go to the grocery store.
Right.
And it's like, and it's so different.
Right.
I don't know. It's interesting because I think as the internet has like matured a little bit, what we found is that like so many people are able to find their people, and then within that there are these sector celebrities that kind of like rise, and so it's like you can be a really 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 big deal to a specific population, and then literally just another person to everyone else.
Right.
Which is not to say that that's a bad thing or anything, but it's just it's very interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, you just mentioned like you felt like you were trying on like someone else's shoes or something. I would say that this past Christmas, you and my I guess brother-in-law Daniel both got me really cool pairs of shoes.
Yes.
Specifically Nikes. Not the shoes I'm wearing right now. I felt like this was like a mental barrier smashing moment for me. Whereas like up until that point, I don't feel like I could have even let myself purchase shoes that looked like that. Like I felt like I was like, I can't even, like no one would expect me to, like no one could even expect it, but because someone gave it to me, now I can sort of like walk in. And it's like, honestly, like I was telling Beth this the other day, I was like my shoe game has been terrible. Like
it's like one of those things that like once now that you care about it, you're like, yeah. What was I thinking?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I can't even believe, like, I am never wearing other kinds of shoes again. Like, this is, like, it's been such, like a unlocking a door.
Yes.
And it's just like, this has been crazy. Like, I don't want to wear other kinds of shoes ever. I always feel, like, so much better, like, about my entire person wearing, like, just the shoes I'm wearing. And it's, like, so weird because it's, like, it's something I easily could have just bought for myself at any point and even wanted to, but felt like I couldn't because of, like, the own expectations I felt like were placed upon me.
Yeah,
it's like a very weird thing.
It is. It's incredibly.
It's like it's shoes,
right? Well, and what's fascinating on the other end of that lens too, though, is like the fact that you have adopted these is something that like makes me feel better about wearing them myself, because it was always something. It was like a fashion decision that I felt like I made. That like maybe part of my brain was like, Jay doesn't really approve of this. Like he doesn't like my Nike shoes that I wear. He tolerates them.
No, very not true.
And yeah, well, like isn't that interesting? So it's almost like in one way, it helped you gain confidence, and you gaining confidence actually indirectly makes me gain confidence about the exact same thing.
That's crazy.
It also goes back to one of my most, and I stand by this, I think it is just a good piece of advice, is compliment people's shoes, because strangely, unexpectedly, I do think they are more personal to more people than you might think.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially if you can just notice that like someone has taken like a piece of their personality and put it into their shoes, it's like, it will mean a lot to them. And it's such a, it doesn't feel like an invasive kind of compliment.
Yeah.
I think, it's like, I don't think, hopefully, obviously, use your own caution, but it doesn't feel like the type of thing that could come across as like otherwise inappropriate for some reason.
Yeah.
And also because you wear your shoes so much more often than probably other elements of your outfit, it does mean that you probably put a little more attention into what you put on your feet.
Yeah, that's true. You definitely have probably fewer pairs of shoes than t-shirts.
Exactly.
Depending on the person. I don't know.
Right. When you compliment someone's t-shirt, they have plenty of t-shirts.
Yeah, plenty of t-shirts.
Their t-shirt might not, it might not speak to who they are, but their shoes.
Yeah.
That's who they are.
All right, Ben. I feel like we're approaching the end here. However, as it's my first and possibly only time hosting, I thought perhaps it would be a good idea to have a fun fact about coyotes. I know.
Well, I would also cue the element of surprise.
What?
Because I am completely shocked.
I know. All right, ready? Okay, I thought this was gonna be a fun one because it's not about real coyotes, but it's also sort of about the Matrix, and I felt like this was like a good convergence of all things.
I love it.
Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so when Neo is training with Morpheus, one of the things he has to learn how to do is jump from great heights without being injured. But as we know, nobody ever makes the first jump.
Right, yeah.
Right. So the scene as it appears was actually done as an homage to Wile E. Coyote, who managed to fall great distances, survive it, defy the laws of physics, and move on to the next activity. So when you see Neo fail that first jump, that fall is inspired by Wile E. Coyote.
Is it really?
Yes.
You're not lying to me.
I'm not. This is what it said on the internet, so it has to be true.
So it has to be true.
Yeah.
It is April Fool's Day, so you can never
Yeah.
be too sure. I can't tell if this is like a truth about popcorn type of thing because I personally like this would be like a good way to do it to me because I love The Matrix.
Yeah.
Like I think that the story of The Matrix is so smart. Like I feel like I come to conclusions every day and then I'm like, this is just The Matrix.
It's just the Matrix again.
It's like, oh my gosh.
It's always the Matrix. We're in a simulation.
I know. It's such a don't say it.
I know.
It's such a well thought out story though from like 150 different angles.
I think, I remember as a kid, like the first time I saw The Matrix, it was, I don't think I really followed the story at all. It was just awesome fight scenes and
Dodging
bullet
bullets.
time
Yeah.
and fighting agents and explosions, and it was really cool. And then it was like, because of that, you watched it a lot. And around like the third or fourth time, we were just like, oh, wait a minute, what's actually happening in this movie?
I know, yeah.
Now, wait a minute.
Yes.
Now, wait a minute. Boom. Yeah.
Yeah, we could just have an entire book club on The Matrix one day.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Anyway, great fun fact about coyotes.
Great. Thanks so much.
Love that it
Thanks
was
so much.
slightly off the beaten path.
Yeah.
That feels very, very fitting and appropriate. Do you close out or do I close out? I'm not sure where this falls under hostmanship duties.
Oh, man.
You want to talk about Patreon and how you can support us at patreon.com/popcornculture?
Yeah, if you would like to continue to have my particular brand of fun facts about coyotes and hilarious, corny jokes, and to hear my voice at the top of the show, you can head over to patreon.com/popcornculture and support just all of the Jazzy J tiers. Of course, if you would rather hear Ben, you can also support the Buzzy B tiers as well. And in the meantime, he shall just remain the one true co-host of Popcorn Culture. If you have any questions for us, you can also send them into popcornculturepod@gmail.com, where honestly, Ben's probably going to be the one to read them because he's just sort of in the habit of doing it.
That's true.
But he'll tell me what you said.
Yeah, I will. We have desks that touch each other. So.
They do. I mean, Ben's normally at his standing desk, and I normally just sit. But you know what? I got a treadmill, so I'm going to be standing soon enough.
I know.
Whenever it arrives. But otherwise, until next time.
Pop.